All right, let's go. So, welcome to another episode of eCom Reality, where we talk all things e-commerce, Shopify, Meta ads, Google ads, email marketing, CRO if necessary. So, in this one, I actually want to talk about events in general and ROI or ROAS, as you could say, as a paid media guy, or if you think in terms of marketing in general. Because with events, and I'm just coming off an event here, so let me show you. So it's this one in Barcelona right now, affiliate takeover. So this was an event by an affiliate, of course, Alex Mikol. And honestly, usually affiliates don't really do events, or at least they don't really have a personal brand. You rarely see someone on YouTube that does affiliate, just because they're busy making money probably. But I want to talk about events in general, because as you can see, I even went to this one, my name, and wrote eCom because I forgot to take the stickers. So the event was all right, met quite a few people. And what I would say with events, because usually whenever you go to an event, it's a mix of having to actually buy the ticket, so an upfront cost, then you have to travel, so additional costs, plus the fact that you're not at home, you probably don't work as well, but you also need to go to the event, which takes some time, energy. So it's actually a pretty big investment for most people. However, as you can see, there are quite enough people in this world who are going to different events. And one other point of view here is that although there are quite a few, hundreds, thousands, depending on the events, that's not that many people in general, right? And I'm saying this because even last night, when there was an after party for this event, right? I was speaking with someone who was actually Romanian, and it wasn't some kind of Romanian event or anything, but just met people who are also from my country. And interestingly enough, this is where, if you are actually someone who is either entrepreneurial or has higher goals and so on, you'll probably meet your tribe eventually by going to events. Because otherwise, and this applies to almost everyone, even probably many of the guys who live in the US, anywhere, mostly in Europe, I mean, even in Barcelona, there are maybe a few people that I actually met here that probably do meet from time to time, but even so, it's not like a hub, you know? So the thing is that when you come to such events, the time flies very fast, because most cases you don't get to meet like all of the, let's say, 100 people, 50 people, even 30 people, right? Probably I met maybe 15 or 20, and that was a stretch, just because I was networking, went to all the days, also went to the after party. So multiple times where you could meet people, right? But it's also about the time that you invest, right? And I did want to mention the ROI, the ROAS on events, because like I mentioned, it's a cost of money and time. And this was actually a pretty, let's say, fair priced, cheap event, because it was like under 500 euro dollars if you bought it way early. And for most of us who were there, it's almost impossible not to make your money back. I mean, just if you implement one thing from there, probably you save a few hours of your time, which means basically the cost of the ticket, or you will actually make way more. And I would say, conservatively, usually it's at least a 5x to maybe 10x, for many 100x and plus. And for example, that's because, let me give an example. If you buy a ticket for 500 euro, right? And then because of a connection, you get to sell your service, which ideally is a high ticket one, of, let's say, $2,000, right? Not even going very high, and it's actually starting to become very low at 2,000 for services that are important. And that basically means almost a 4x. A 4x just for that 1 month that you charge 2,000, right? Because if you go to the second month with someone and you are charging $4,000, right? At that point, it's an 8x. Then it goes to a 12x, then to a 16x. And this is how you can see how it compounds, right? Because this is not necessarily intuitive, right? I mean, even myself, I don't know what's the ROI, the ROAS on this right now, right? But looking at the past, I've never regretted being to an event. And there was also always some kind of connection, or if there wasn't any kind of connection that I started working right away with, there was also this relationship building that happened because you meet with someone. For example, in February, it was Affiliate World Dubai, right? Met some people there. And interestingly enough, some of them, or at least one of them that I remember, I also met here in Barcelona, right? So we already saw each other 2 times, right? At this point, if we see each other a third time, it's just like a high school reunion, you know, even though like in high school you met with someone for 4 years every day. Here, if you meet just 3 times, it feels the same, right? So I just wanted to share this because I was just thinking about one thing, how, for example, I've also been able to grow along the years, and I would say it's been due to events, being to events where there were people who were making more than me, who are maybe at the same level as me, and you also grow if you have, and I would say this is actually ideal, to have around 33%, let's say, or the mix doesn't necessarily matter, but a few people who are under you, who you can, let's say, mentor, help grow. Then a third, let's say, would be people who are at your level. So ideally you do grow together, and you also have people who are above you, because those also help you get there, right? Because you first see it's possible, just like with the, what was that, 5-minute mile? I can't remember the exact time for a mile, or 10-minute mile, when Bannister, who was a runner, actually broke that barrier. He broke the record, and then in the next few months, and just to remind you, like, that record wasn't broken for decades, you know. And then Bannister came and he broke it, and then a few months later, other few people did it. So the main thing was that he's shown everyone else that it's possible, and because they knew it's possible, they also tried, right? Because, for example, right now I actually got a message. I don't have my phone here beside me, but last night, after I slept probably, I did receive a message from someone who I met like 6 years ago, and he's more of a consultant right now, and he basically introduced me to a brand and told him that I could help them with their paid media and so on. And basically that was so random, because I'm here in Barcelona networking with different people, and then someone who I met like 6 years ago from the US just hands me a warm lead, let's say, right? A brand that I'm possibly going to work with. So as you can see, making connections, and this is just like planting seeds. That this is one of the easiest ways to think about it. If you plant multiple seeds along the way, of course you increase the likelihood of like getting lucky, because that's what luck means. You get an opportunity, and now if it's deserved or not, this is probably up to you, because yeah, there's some luck involved in everything that we do, right? I mean, a car could have hit you, right? Unlucky. But of course, if you don't go out, the chances go lower. However, that's an extreme example, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't go out of your house. So as you can see, there's always some kind of risk. But for example, with events, just because, if you think about it, it's just a few hundred or 1,000 people who come to these events, while the population worldwide is billions, right? Because honestly, there are probably just in India, I would say, maybe 100K people who could be, or are better than me at media buying, let's say, or at data analysis and so on, right? But why are they not in my shoes, for example, right? Because they probably could be, but it's all about growing along the way, right? Because if you go to multiple events, if you have multiple calls with multiple brands, then you just stack your skills, stack your network, stack your opportunity, and basically that's how things happen. That's why someone earns 100 times more than someone else. It's not like it's 100%, 100 times more volume, more effort, more work. It's leverage basically. And leverage is just meeting people and all of that. So I'll keep this one short. Relatively short. We went over 10 minutes, but we could definitely talk more about events, ROI on it, and just growing, and also meeting some great people, because your network is your net worth to some extent, especially if you're in the online world, and these are basically your people, the people that work online in most cases, not when going to these few events a year. They are basically the ones that probably you would even want to take vacations with, because you would have enough things to talk about. So with that, we'll end this one. If you enjoyed it, you can leave a like. If you have any comment, you know where to leave it. And until next time, peace out.